is chapter 2.1, the real number line. So we're going to begin chapter 2, part 1, by looking at some vocabulary words. So our first vocabulary word here is real numbers. Real numbers are the set of numbers consisting of positive numbers, negative numbers, and zero. So these could be whole numbers, decimals, fractions, kind of all positive numbers, negative numbers, and zero. Real number lines, I know you've done these before. Okay, they're aligned with arrows on both sides. Okay, you could mark every one, but I'm okay if you just mark every 5, that way I can see what your scale is. Next one is positive numbers. Positive numbers are numbers greater than 0. Okay, so positive numbers, 7, 25, 100. Okay, negative numbers, on the other hand, are less than 0. So negative 4, negative 8, negative 12. Our integers. These are going to be whole numbers that are negative or positive and 0. It's not going to include any fractions, any decimals. Right, just whole numbers that are either negative or positive and 0. The whole numbers are the positive integers and 0. So these are our counting numbers, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on. So this first section is going to be graphing numbers. So the graph of a number is the point on a number line that corresponds to a number. Okay, so this should be a review, since you've seen this before in your other math classes. So we're just going to do a couple here to review what you should already know. So number 1, it wants us to graph negative 5, negative 1, and 2 on a number line. So here's my number line. Put 0 in the middle. You could mark every one, but I'm okay with you marking just every 5th one, that way I can see what your scale is. So first it wants us to mark the number negative 5. So I'm going to start at 0 and I'm going to count over. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. So my dot is going to go here at negative 5. For negative 1, again I'm going to start at 0 and I'm going to count over negative 1. That's where my dot is going to go. 2, remember, is the other way. Our negative numbers are this way, positive numbers this way. So I'm going to start at 0 again. I'm going to count over 1, 2. And my dot would go here. Okay, so remember, we marked negative 5, negative 2, or sorry, negative 1, and 2. Again, not going to spend a whole lot of time on this. I'm assuming that graphing whole numbers on a number line should be easy since we did that last year. Okay, let's look at number 2. It is slightly different. So we're going to start again by graphing. This time it wants us to graph negative 3 and negative 7. That's a horrible scale, but we'll go with it. So negative 3. So again, I want to start at 0. And I'm going to count over. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. And that's where my dot is going to go. For negative 7, we're going to again start at 0 and we're going to count. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay. The next part of it wants us to write an inequality that compares the two numbers. So here's my two numbers. Negative 7, negative 3. Remember, an inequality is our less than greater than signs. And when I look on my number line, smaller numbers are always to the left, bigger numbers are always to the right. So I know that negative 3 is bigger than negative 7. So I'm going to put this sign in here, because remember my alligator always eats the bigger number. So it's going to be eating the -3, because the -3 is bigger than -7. Okay? Remember, negative numbers work backwards from what you think. I could have also written it the other way, doesn't matter. But in this case, my inequality sign, my alligator would still be eating the -3, because -3 is still bigger, regardless of what side it's on. Okay, let's get one more here of graphing. Ooh, let's get rid of all that. Where did it come from? Okay. Our graphing decimals and fractions. So I'm going to make my lines a little bit bigger here because we don't need very much to graph these two. So in order to graph -2/3, it's easiest to make it into a decimal. So if I divide 2 divided by 3, I'm going to get -0.67. Okay, so that means it's on the negative end, so it's going to be on this side of 0. But it's not going to be quite to 1 because I have 0 point something. So it's going to be 2/3 of the way towards 1. Okay, so this is where -2/3 should be. Okay, again, it's past the 0, but not quite to the 1. And it's on the negative side because my number is negative. For 0.4, it's already a decimal for me. This one's going to be on the positive side because it is a positive number. So again, it's going to be past the 0, but not quite to the 1. So it's going to be 0.4 of the way toward 1. Here it's going to be 0.4. So at this point, we're going to stop, and we're going to do section 2.1, checkpoints 1 and 2. So we're going to stop, and we're going to do section 2.1, checkpoint 1 and 2.